Welcome! Today, we're going to unpack a simple but really powerful story about the difference between being a mirror and being a light. It's all about the journey from just reflecting what others want to see to actually shining with your own purpose. So, let's dive in. Okay, so let's start with this quote because it really hits the nail on the head. This sentence just perfectly sums up the problem facing our story's hero, a boy named Ayaan. He was so busy trying to please everyone else that his own identity, well, it just kind of faded away, replaced by what everyone else expected him to be. So, how does someone even get to a point like that? That's the big question, right? In this first section, we're going to explore exactly that. How Ayaan's desire to keep everyone happy led him to lose himself completely. And what's really interesting here is that his identity didn't just vanish overnight. Nah, it was a slow process, happening in these tiny, everyday moments. Laughing at a joke you don't get, nodding along with an opinion you totally disagree with. Each little compromise was like a tiny chip away at his real self, until he ended up in this strange place where everyone liked him, but absolutely no one truly knew him. And then something happens. Something that seems totally ordinary on the surface. A school art competition. It sounds pretty simple, right? But for Ayaan, this everyday event was about to set off a major personal crisis. The theme was, who am I? I mean, talk about a tough question. When Ayaan sat down with that blank sheet of paper, he was smacked right in the face with his own emptiness. His mind was just blank. He'd spent so much time and energy being what other people wanted, he had no idea who he actually was anymore. That question forced him to look in the mirror and realize there was nothing looking back. Okay, so this is where everything starts to change for him. Feeling totally broken and confused, a chance encounter on a hill is about to give him a whole new way of seeing himself. And, well, everything. He's looking for some kind of clarity, so he goes to this peaceful spot from his childhood. And it's there he finds this old painter, just totally absorbed in his work, painting a beautiful sunrise. This man is about to give him a piece of wisdom that changes the entire game. And the painter, wow, he just gets it instantly. He sees Ayaan's struggle and puts his finger right on the problem with this single, powerful observation. Ayaan isn't living for himself, for his own heart. He's living for the approval he sees in other people's eyes. Then the painter drops this incredible metaphor, using the sunrise right in front of them. He says, look, the sun doesn't rise hoping for applause. It doesn't worry if someone thinks it's too bright. It just shines. Why? Because that's what it does. That's its purpose. And he's basically telling Ayaan, you need to find your reason to shine. And this leads to such a crucial point. The painter explains that changing to please other people, well, that's just like wearing a mask. It's not real and it hides who you are. But changing for yourself, to become a better version of who you already are deep down, that's not hiding. That is growth. So with this new wisdom, Ayaan doesn't just sit around feeling inspired. Nope. He starts taking action. This next section is all about how he took the painter's advice and began to turn it into his new reality. You can almost see the two paths laid out in front of him, right? On one side, a life of performance, wearing masks, hiding, living for others. And on the other, a life of purpose, growing, becoming real, living for yourself. It was a clear choice, and Ayaan chose that second path. So how did he do it? Well, it wasn't magic. It was a series of really concrete, practical steps. He started spending time by himself, just to listen to his own thoughts. He started reading and learning to form his own opinions. And maybe the hardest part, he started to speak his own truth, not aggressively, but with a quiet kindness and confidence. And of course, when you change like that, people notice. When they're used to the mask, seeing the real face can be a little jarring. They told him, you've changed. And they were right. But his reply is just so simple and powerful. It shows his new conviction. Yeah, he changed. But this time, it was for him. All right, so after all this work, what's the payoff? In our final section, let's really boil down the central message of Ayaan's journey and figure out what it means to truly shine for your own purpose. It's amazing, isn't it? By focusing on his inner world, his outer world just completely transformed for the better. He didn't become louder or more arrogant. He actually became calmer, wiser. His friendships got deeper because now they were based on honesty. And his confidence, it wasn't fragile anymore, depending on others. It was solid, built from the inside out.
So if we boil this whole story down, it comes to this one powerful idea: authentic change. It's not about becoming a totally new person. It's about becoming more of who you already are. It's about letting your own values, your own truth, be your guide, instead of trying to follow everyone else's map.
And really, the core lesson for all of us is to always ask ourselves that one simple question. Why am I changing? Am I doing this to shrink myself to fit into a space that's too small? Or am I doing it to expand and grow into a better version of myself? And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question to think about in our own lives. Just like the sun, Ayaan found out his purpose was simply to be himself and to shine. The story is an invitation for all of us to look inside and ask that same thing. What is my unique purpose? What is the light that only I can bring to the world?